Oh, hey guys, how's it going? I'm on the 2019 Kawasaki 650 Versys, and if you're watching this video and you've seen a few of my others recently and you enjoyed them, please hit that subscribe button. It helps me out, lets me know I'm doing something right. Also, the more subscribers, the cooler bikes, the cooler locations, the better videos. Yo, what is up guys? Duke of DC here. Welcome to another video. We are out here in beautiful New Braunfels, Texas, right along the Guadalupe River. Actually, do you guys pronounce it Guadalupe or Guadalupe? So there's a difference here in Austin, San Antonio, and I'm very curious. Comment down below if you're from the area. Big shout out to Wood Cycle Country for hooking it up today. They are, of course, located in New Braunfels. I will link them below. Hit up my man Blake. He is the man, the myth, the legend, hooking it up today with all the motorcycles. And as always, this video is brought to you by Rollick. Rollick is a company connecting consumers like you and me to a network of certified dealers like Wood Cycle Country to provide the most transparent buying experience when it comes to ATVs, side-by-sides, RVs, or of course, motorcycles. Like this beautiful 2019 Kawasaki Versys 650. This is the bike that is answering the question, should I buy a touring bike or should I buy an adventure bike? This is skirting the lines of both. And we're gonna jump into everything. We're gonna talk about the details. I thought what better place to take a motorcycle that's supposed to be both kind of touring and adventure oriented than a place that you could tour to and maybe do a little bit of adventure riding at. So for the 2019 Kawasaki Versys 650 LT, we're looking at an MSRP of $9,199. So this is a sub $10,000 bike, but it doesn't necessarily look it. It doesn't feel like it's scrimping or saving. Now I understand for a lot of people $10,000 is still an extraordinary amount of money. I am one of those people, trust me, but you know, we're talking value for money. We're talking about the competition. We're talking about some of the German or more luxury brands that are putting out motorcycles like this nowadays, and then Kawasaki coming in and giving you everything that you can expect on those bikes at a price that is much more lenient on a motorcycle that may be much more reliable. So down here we've got a 649cc parallel twin. Now you guys have seen this engine before. You've seen it in the Vulcan S that I just took out. You've also seen it in the Kawasaki Ninja 650. It is an engine that they're putting in a lot of their different bikes, and it's a fantastic powerhouse. Parallel twins make a lot of beautiful low-end torque. This one especially makes some great high-end horsepower, so you've got that glorious torque that you need to get off the line. You got that horsepower to keep you cruising at higher speeds on the highway. Getting into the specifics, this thing produces 47 pound-feet of torque and roughly 68 horsepower. So that is going to be more than enough for you if you're kicking it off-road, or of course if you are on the way to some of those trails on the long stretches of highway, especially out here in Texas, a lot of straight roads going to nowhere. I'm used to that. You're going to be looking at a top speed of 130 miles per hour. Now that is estimated on a bike like this. You're not really going to be hitting the top speed very often. It's not a super sport bike. It's not really meant for, you know, crazy speeds. It does have some decent wind protection in the front, so you're not going to be feeling a lot of the highway speeds at about 70 or 80 miles per hour. But again, just be careful as always. So on this LT model, what comes special with it are these side cases. They're 28 liters each. That gives you quite a lot of storage. I'll pop one open for you here just so you can see. Key goes in. These are lockable. They do come off. Handle, and then it opens right up. I would say you could fit a full face helmet in there. I would put mine in, but it's got the GoPro camera on it, so it's a little bit different in terms of shape. But to close them up, pull this down, key locks it, comes out, super secure. You've got one on the other side here. A pillion would be ultra comfortable on this. It's a great seat, very plush, very spacious, and probably more importantly, it's got these really robust handlebars on the sides, so your pillion can hold on to these rather than hold on to you as the rider. As you guys can see from the factory, this comes standard with hand guards, which is a very nice thing, especially if you're going to be taking this off-road. Last thing you want to do is hit a tree, and that tree clips your brake, and then you go flying. Of course, there's a number of other reasons why, protecting your hands just in general, but that's a great feature, especially from the factory. This is a 6-speed manual, chain-driven bike, 1 down, 5 up, dual-sided swing arms. You've got ABS on this unit, Nissan calipers on both sides here, front and back as well. We've got adjustable suspension in the front, adjustability in the rear. So for sub $10,000, you are talking about quite a lot of features. Now, where those features stop are on the technology side of things. The bike doesn't come with a lot. We've got no power modes, we've got no traction control settings. You really just have this. And for a lot of riders, that's kind of all they're looking for these days. There's been this push for all these bikes having these technological advances, and then there's this push for a lot of people that are wishing we would go back to how it was. This bike kind of skirts the line of both. You've got a semi-digital, semi-analog display up here. You've got a digital a digital speedometer and an analog tachometer, so it gives you the best of both worlds. On the left side here, you've got your hazards, your brights, your turn signals, and your horn. On the right side, you've got your kill switch and your starter button. And that's it. Clutch on the left, brake on the right, no linked braking. As this is kind of an adventure-ish bike, and I'm gonna say adventure-ish because as you can see, this does have road-going tires. It has 6.7 inches of suspension travel. Now that should be enough to get you into some trouble off-road. And with that, you do have a 33.1 inch seat height. Again, I'm 5'9", 30-inch inseam. I am certainly not able to flat foot it with both feet. However, I am very easily able to slide a little bit to one side and get my foot down flat and feel incredibly comfortable. I am also at a stop, if I do want to have both feet down, I can get down to about here. So not really the most ideal situation. And that's a combination of the fact that yes, 33.1 inches is a taller seat height for me, but also this isn't the most narrow seating position that I've ever seen on kind of some of these pseudo adventure motorcycles. It is a narrow seat, but then it kind of flares out when you get to the engine and below, so your legs actually tend to splay out a bit. Here we've got a 476.3 pound curb weight that is fully loaded, ready to ride, which is not too bad, especially for a motorcycle like this, albeit 650 cc, 649 cc, so it's not a big 1,000, but those are weighing anywhere from 550 to 600 plus pounds. Another thing, you've got a 5.5 gallon fuel tank here. That's big on adventure models. You don't want to be the first one to need to fill up, especially if you're going somewhere where gas is limited or you are carrying in your gas, you're doing an unsupported type ride. As you can see up here, you do have an adjustable windscreen. It's got locks on both sides. You just take these locks off, you would slide it up, you would slide it down, it moves into the position that you want. So I was getting a little bit of buffeting on my helmet on the way here. If I wanted to, I could push this up to its highest position and eliminate that, or if I was riding in conditions that are really hot, I wanted super ventilation over my helmet, I would push this all the way down and get as much air as possible flowing over me so that I feel super ventilated. So yeah guys, that's about it. You know, the Kawasaki Versys 650, not the most technologically advanced motorcycle. There's certainly a few things that I want to kind of talk about here before we go for the ride. So as I try and do now, I have ridden the bike prior to filming this, and there are a few things that stand out for me that I'd like to talk about while I'm not riding. I can get them out more coherently. One is the throttle response. Throttle response on this is pretty abrupt, it's pretty intense, and off-road, in an off-road situation, that's going to cause some issues. The other thing that goes along with that is the engine braking, also pretty darn intense. If you are going off-road, you're going to have to watch out. You don't want to be chopping off of the throttle. Now, you don't want to do that anyway, but in a lot of these other motorcycles that are on-road focused, that have off-road capabilities, they have different rider modes that allow you to dial in the different settings that you want. Another thing that is missing on this for almost $10,000 is off-road ABS. In an off-road situation, you're gonna wanna turn off the ABS on the rear, because if you don't, you're gonna be locking up that rear brake left and right, and that's gonna prevent you from being able to actually come to a stop, given that the terrain that you're riding on is going to be super loose and cause the wheel to lock regardless. So you wanna be controlling that braking on your own, rather than having a computer think that you're just on terrible road condition asphalt. Now I know those are kind of nitpicky, but they're important to me. I think the 650 is more than enough power. I love this parallel twin. I love a parallel twin, period. I adore this in the Vulcan S. I liked it a lot in the 650. Both of those motorcycles I felt were less sport oriented and more comfort oriented. So it is kind of, makes sense for Kawasaki to put it in this, albeit I wish they had done something kind of bespoke to the Versys 650. Now, I'll be the first to say this isn't their top of the line adventure bike. This is something that is competing with the KTM 790 Dukes, the F650s from BMW, some of the more mid-weight adventure bikes. And to be completely honest, it's coming in at a fraction of that cost. You know, looking at the KTM, for example, that's $13,500. This is closer to $9,000. So you can take all that money, you can change what you want on this, you can make it your own, you can buy some new gear, you can pay for your property tax, your insurance, all sorts of different things, your closing costs with your dealership. You could take it and just save it, put it in the bank for a rainy day like you should, because at sub $10,000, I do think this is great value for money. There are a couple things in quirks, but generally speaking, it's a great bike, and I really do like it. So let's take it for a spin. All right, boys and girls, let's go for this first ride review on the Kawasaki Versys 650. I guess technically it's not a first ride. I did ride it here. Second ride review. Now, I know I just harped on a couple things, but I do like the bike. The 2019 Kawasaki Versys 650, that 649cc parallel twin that you've seen in the Vulcan, you've seen in the Ninja 650. It's now living in one of these, kind of an adventure touring bike. Very interesting. The category, the mid-weight adventure bike category, is blowing up. I think people are starting to realize 600 plus pound, 1300cc adventure bikes are lacking that actual adventure formula. The adventure formula is small, lightweight, simple, reliable. The Kawasaki is a lot of those things. It's not incredibly lightweight, but it's certainly lighter than a much heavier version of itself, maybe a Versys 1000cc or any of its competitors in that 1000 plus cc class. It's certainly reliable. It's a Kawasaki. It's got a lot of reliability historically behind it. It produces quite enough power. It's decently small. It's not so wide. You could certainly manage this on a single track, albeit if you did stack it, or rather when you stacked it, it would be kind of a pain to pick up 470 plus pounds. But the horsepower, the power, the wind protection, the usability, this gives it kind of a unique characteristic where this bike would be joyful to ride to the trails, and then probably equally joyful to ride on the trails. Parallel twin sounds delicious. I do like the stock exhaust on this. It's an underslung exhaust. It's very low profile. It's pretty adequate looking. Sounding wise, maybe needs a little bit of work, but otherwise just a hoot and a half here. Feels really good. It makes you want to go a lot faster than you're supposed to, especially down here. 20 miles per hour. I come down here because it's an absolutely gorgeous road. I mean, seriously, the river crossings, the twists and turns, the campsites, it's my cup of tea. The speed limit is atrocious. It should be at least 75, maybe 300. But who am I? Feels fantastic. It has a really nice turn into it. I will say the fact that this is a more kind of road-going adventure touring machine means that the suspension is set up in a sportier way, albeit you can adapt or rather adjust the suspension how you please, how you see fit. But the bike as a whole, the steering rake, the handlebar width, all of it, it's leaning towards road, in my personal opinion. It's leaning towards road. Like, even if I stood on it, you know, like, that's a bit of a stretch to the handlebars. And I'm 5'9". If you're 6 foot plus, albeit your arms would be maybe a little bit longer than mine, I do have freakishly long arms for my stubby little body, then you're gonna have a hard time. You're gonna have a hard time standing on this like you would want to on a true adventure bike. A little bit of wind kicking up. 20, golly geez, I thought this is where it got to 40. So flickable. It's a very, very smooth ride. You know, on the way here I was having some issues with comfort. I think I was just adjusting to it. It's incredibly different from the Vulcan Vecuro, as one would imagine. That is a very comfortable cruiser style motorcycle. This is still very comfortable, albeit an adventure. Much harder suspension, much firmer seat, much firmer everything. But a great ride. Feels good. Feels really good in the turns. Changing my mind. And I'll tell you what that score was. That score earlier was 6.8, and that was, you know, derived off of the fact that I thought, you know, Kawasaki might have missed the mark on this bike. I thought, you know, it's a mid-class adventure sport bike. It's almost 10 grand. It's got some cool things, but it's missing a lot of other stuff. I'm taking that back. I'm giving this bike a 7.9. I still think it's missing some stuff. I still think Kawasaki is super close, but not getting there, and the stuff that they're missing on this is kind of big. It does need off-road ABS. It could use some rider modes. That's a big bump. One of the things I will mention that I'm kind of having an issue with is a lot of engine vibration, which is odd because the parallel twin in the Vulcan, this parallel twin in the Vulcan and in the Ninja 650 did not produce hardly any vibrations, which is something that I find super weird. And I think it's just from the bars are risen quite a bit, and I think maybe that rise in the bars mixed with the hardware that they used is causing a little bit of a numbing factor in the handlebars. Anything above 5,000 is not so fantastic. I'm getting a buzz in the bars, I'm getting a buzz in my crotch. Kind of weird, kind of like it. All right, guys, well, on that note, and in this little bit of traffic here, we are heading back to Woods Cycle Country. Again, thank you so much. Please hit up my man Blake if you are in the New Braunfels area. As always, this video is brought to you by Rollick. Rollick is a company connecting you guys to dealerships like Woods Cycle Country, and they're doing a great job of trying to find people the best deals, the most transparent buying experience when it comes to these motorcycles, as well as a lot of other power sport items. So that first link in the description, if you're not from the area, you're looking for one of these 2019 Kawasaki Versys 650s, hit that, search in your area and see what you can find. This is my new thing, but I do want people to take care of themselves, take care of others, and take care of this planet. And as always, I'll see you on the next one. Peace!